So how much benefit does water methanol give you without tuning? Stay tuned as we find out. Hey, this is Bryan. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com. Today we have Super Officer in the house. We're going to install
meth injection.
Now, if you saw our video the other day with the F80 M3, we did a video that shows the effect of meth injection on your car. But with that car, we went from an OTS tune to a custom map. So a lot of people were saying, why don't you just show us what meth alone can add? So today, that's what we're doing. Now, in today's video, we have two main parts: how to install the meth injection system here, and then also the dyno. If you're just here for the dyno, be sure to see the description. We have some timestamps where you can jump ahead. Now, as many of you know, we've already installed an FTP charge pipe on a Supra in the past, so we're not going to do it again. We're going to just fly through that. The reason you want an upgraded charge pipe is this is aluminum, where the factory is plastic, and it has these nice little bungs where we can install our meth injection port. If you need a more detailed approach on how to install a charge pipe, we're going to have a link for you down below. Now, the reason that we went with the meth injection system from AAM is there's this special bracket, and again, we're going to have links to all the parts in the description, that allows us to mount our tank right in this cavity right here. So everything is going to be nice, neat, concealed, and under the hood, which is great because with a lot of cars, you have to mount the system in the trunk and you have to route it through the car. This is so easy. The other thing I love about the system is this tank, although it's small, it is mighty at a whopping 1.15 gallons. So with that, let's get started with our install. All right, so what we're gonna do now, Bill's gonna help me remove the intake, the support brace, and replace the charge pipe, and then we'll be back to show you how to install the meth injection. So at this point, we just finished installing the FTP charge pipe, and now we're gonna get ready for the meth injection system. So you need to remove this panel. Just twist this from lock to unlock. You can remove these connections over here, and then this is going to slide right out of the way. Now with the kit that we're installing today, we actually have a special bracket. Again, we're gonna have links to everything down below, where you can mount the tank and the pump all in this cavity, which is really awesome. Now, one of the things you're gonna have to do is you will notice that there is a little duct here. It kind of looks like one of those air conditioning vents. This is actually for water. So as water comes in, it just goes down and deposits it through a little hole, and it goes behind the wheel. We're gonna have to pop this out. So this just pops out. You just wiggle it, make sure you're not getting caught on any wires. All right. And this is going to need to be removed. Then once you've done that, you're going to want to remove the square that looks like this, and this is going to expose you to a grommet. And the grommet is actually where we're going to need to feed some wires through the car. Now, at this step, remember, it's very important that you get the wires and you start on the other side of the car and you feed them through this way. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get the controller and the little harness block through this way. So make sure that you take the time to feed the wires now so that you don't have to redo any of your work. So let's head into the inside of the car. I'll show you how to drop down the panel. We'll feed the wires through, and then Bill's going to take over and show you how to install the tank. So as we mentioned, this is the controller that's going to control the boost. So basically there's just two main settings. It's what PSI do you want to start the controller to start to bring in the meth injection, and then when do you want it to be full spray. So again, you're starting and also your full spray. Now what we're going to be using today is based on the tuner's recommendation. You always want to talk to a tuner to see what they recommend for your specific setup. So with this piece, again, this is gonna be hard to feed through a firewall, so we're gonna try to not do that. We also need to get a boost line through, which is a soft rubber one here. The one that's more of a nylon, that's actually for the meth injection, so you don't want to use that. And then here is our wire harness. So as you can see, once again, big plug, doesn't go through the firewall easily. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to drop this bottom tray. So what I'll do, I'm just going to do it and then I'll show you what I did. All right, so underneath your footwell here, you have these two little tabs. They just go up and they just twist 90 degrees. You just twist them the other 90 degrees. There's one here and there's one here. And then this is gonna rock down, and then you can pull it out and you can set it out of the way. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to feed it through that grommet up there so that we can see exactly where it's going to come out so that we can prepare the wires to go through. All right, so now before we actually feed any of the wires through, you need to make sure that you feed the right wires through. So basically, I'm going to feed all but 3 wires. If you look on the back, it's really nice. They actually tell you what all the wires stand for. This is awesome. It's because if you don't have your guide or anything, you can just reference this. So yellow is the 12 volt that's going to come on with the ignition. So we need to have that on the inside of the car. We also, because there's a fuse box we're going to tap, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. You also want to have your LED positive and your LED negative, which is violet and gray. So we're going to feed all but those 3 wires through our firewall. Now typically what I like to do, I just take a flathead screwdriver and I feed it through the grommet from the front. So if you take a look over there while I'm untangling these wires, you can see that I stuck a screwdriver right through, and that's going to come out down here at the passenger footwell. Okay, so I'm going to take all of my wires. I'll tape them all together, just on the end like that. And this is going to be really hard to see. I'm going to tape them to my trusty screwdriver here. All right, so just so you guys can see what I'm talking about, you can see I have all of the wires taped to my screwdriver right there, and now we're just going to carefully pull them through. Carefully pull all of these through just like this. All right, put them over here. Now what we need to do is we need to get our boost line through that same hole. So I'm going to stick my screwdriver back down. And same thing, I'm just going to use some electrical tape. I'm going to tape it, and then we're going to pull it through. Okay, don't pull too far. All right, you'll do it again. Now when it comes to mounting the controller, you can mount it wherever you like. We're gonna just put it in the glove box because it's easy and it's out of the way. With this, it's not like the snow kits where it has actual boosts and whatnot. There's not really much to see. And there's a little LED that we're going to install that's going to give us any errors or any issues if maybe the tank is getting low or there's a problem with the system. The little LED is going to alert us. So really, you could put this wherever you want. All right, so what I have done is I had to take a minute to figure out how to route these wires. The biggest thing is so that the boost line isn't pinched. So I figured out if you pull off the side panel, just take a plastic trim tool like this one here, and you just slowly insert it, and then you can pop this off. There's a couple clips on the side. This is what this looks like. Oh, look at that. Made in England. That's pretty cool. So once you do that, you can see in here. And what I found out is if you take all those wires, if you route them like I have, I'll try to point to it with my screwdriver here so I stay out of the way. Just pull this tape off. The trick is if you take the wires and you route them under this piece right there and in that hole, what you can do is if you take a fishing wire, maybe even like a a coat hanger, you can feed it down the top of the glove box and then you can fish it out. What I actually ended up doing is I have all these long wires. I just took one of the wires, I fed it down the top, out the side, and I taped it and I just fished it through. But that's definitely the trick. So go under that piece of plastic right there. If you go above it, what's going to happen is when this shuts, it's going to hit it. But with everything under, you should be fine. So we have plenty of clearance, which is nice. Next, what we're going to do is we're just going to take some Tessa tape. We're just going to wrap it up and make it look nice so you don't see all these brightly colored wires when you look in your glove box. All right, and as you can see, that looks a million times better. So I'm going to take this, plug it in like that, take our boost line, plug this in like that, and then this can literally just sit in the glove box, and then everything's going to shut nice. And like I was saying before, with how we have it routed right now, we don't have any pinch in our boost line, which is nice. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to take our yellow wire and we need to tap it to a fuse that has power on accessory, and that's what's going to initially turn the system on. So if you look at my little diagram right here, this is a fuse panel that's under here. It's a little difficult to see, but what we are going to do is we are going to tap F65 right there with one of these fuse taps. So cool thing is, all you do is you pull out the fuse that's in there, you put it in here. We're going to attach our yellow wire to this, and then you just get it and you just plug it in, and then that way you can tap the power and everything is still fuse protected. So with that, I'm gonna cut the wire, I'm gonna prepare this, and we'll get that going. Okay. All right, so as you can see, we have that crimped down and ready to rock. So let me grab my fuse here. Again, it's a little hard to see for you guys. I'm gonna take my fuse and I'm gonna put it in there, just like that. Make sure it's all the way in. All right, just so you can see what's going on, that's what it looks like. The tap just goes right into that spot, and we are good to go. All right, so then what you're going to do is your violet wire goes to your power, and then your other one goes to ground. With LEDs, it doesn't normally matter. A lot of times, you know, they'll just be two black wires. But what this does is this is going to alert you if your tank is low or if there's any issues with the system. And what you want to do is just route this up to a place where you can still see it, but you're probably going to want to have it where it's kind of out of the way as well. So what we've decided is if we take our wire, lift up our weather stripping here, we're just going to put it right here. So it's pretty subtle, it's out of the way, and this way if there's any cause for concern, Bill will be able to see what's going on with the car. As you can see, it's pretty much out of the way. Pull it out just a little bit more. There we go. Nice and subtle. All right, so that's all you need to do for the inside. So I'm just gonna tuck this away in there. I'm gonna put these two panels back, and then we're good from the inside.
So we sourced this bracket from P-Tuned. This allows the meth tank and the pump to be mounted together, and then this drops inside the cubby hole in the engine bay. So here you can see the kit is all together. We have the tank and we have the pump. Here's the bracket. As you can see, it keeps everything together. There's little rubber bushings in there that keep vibration down.
All right, so now that we have this assembled, what we need to do is we need to have one of these, the nylon lines, we need to have it run here. And we need to have it go to the pump. We're gonna have it go through a solenoid. The reason that we're going to use a solenoid is if, for whatever reason, if you have your nozzle lower than your tank, what can happen is it can drain out. The solenoid is supposed to help stop that. The other thing we're gonna try to mount is this right here. And what this is a filter. So say there was some kind of funky particle or something in your tank, this is going to help screen it out. So very important, little extra things, but in the long run, they are great to have. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just gonna see how flexible our line is. I'm gonna start now. With these, all you need to do, you just press it in and that's it. If you try to pull it out, it's gonna bite. What you need to do if you need to release it is you just press on it a little bit and then it's gonna come out. Okay, so you just press it in, that's good to go. And you can see, I'm not sure if I said it or not, but always look for arrows. So you'll see there's an arrow here, so this is in and this is out. You also have flow direction on here as well. So what we're gonna do is we're just going to use some double-sided tape here. The stuff we use is super strong, so I'm sure there's more than enough for this application. Again, always make sure that your flow direction is going in the right way. Mine's gonna be switched, but I'm just gonna flip it around just like that. You also want to make sure that nothing is getting too kinked or anything. So if I have this about here, I'll be able to go in there with ease, and then I'll be able to just flop it up into there pretty easy as well. Okay, I'm just going to press and hold on this for about 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to cut our line, make sure it's nice and round. Let's go up here. Okay, make sure that goes in nice, just like that. Then they put these little plugs in. Again, you just push on it like that, and then that'll pull out. Cut a piece that's a little bit too big. It's always easier to trim it back. Otherwise, you'll have to extend it. Now it's a little bit too cold. You can probably see my breath. So it doesn't want to adhere, but that's okay. There are 2 holes at the bottom of this tank that we're not going to use. So we're going to fasten it here, so that way it doesn't go anywhere. And it still has the 3M tape on, so we'll see if we can get that to stick as well. So put this end in here, over here, put this end in there. Okay, then you can take out your other plug if you haven't done so already. And let's go over and drop it in the car. The next shot. Now, as you know, we fed all those wires through the firewall. We want to make sure that there's no liquid that gets in. So what you want to do is take this little grommet, and what I like to do is I like to cut an X in it. And then I'm going to take all those wires that we fed through, and I'm going to feed them through this again, and then we're going to push this into place. And then I have some E6000, and that's going to seal it up. It's basically a silicone sealant. It's ethanol resistant though, so if you ever have any leaks or anything like that, it's what we use on all of our ethanol systems, or our methanol systems, I should say. So as you can see, this is going to seal it most of the way, but we are going to put some of that E6000 on. Okay. Cool thing about this too is if you ever want to peel it off, if you ever need to get in here, you can always just peel it off and you can reseal it.
So this unit slips down into this cubby. We have a bolt back in this corner, which slips onto there, and then we have 2 bolts over here. So the nice thing about this kit is it's all plug and play. So what I'm gonna do right now is this nut back here, I'm gonna loosen that to allow this to slip over it.
Now to do this next part, you can either do it one of 2 ways. We're gonna show you the easy way. But if you wanna do it the more difficult way, you can take, it's not really all that difficult, but you can take off the windshield wipers, take off all the plastics up there and whatnot. It's gonna give you a little bit more space to work. Phil and I are just going to lift it up, but to give us a little bit of extra clearance, I'm gonna hold the hood and I'm going to pull off one of these little strut braces here. So to do that, you just pull out this little clip right here. I'll try to do this without it falling on my head. There we go. Okay, so the way that this works is if you take a pick tool, and so there's a ball over here, if you look over here, and it goes into here. What you do is you take a pick tool, you slide it in, and then you release it. And then you put it back, and you just snap it into place. All right, so we obviously don't do pull-ups around here, so we put our pull-up bar that we had to keep us hood up. So there you go. All right, hood's back on, so it won't fall on our heads. Zach and Bill bolted up our tank, and as you can see, it's really cool. I love how it sits just out of the way. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finish the wiring, and we're also going to run our meth line over here. Now, the nozzle that we're going to be using is the medium one. You have, I believe it's a 250 milliliter flow, a 500 and 1,000. We're going to be using the 500. So with that, let's jump over here and I'll show you the nozzle system. All right, so this is the nozzle that is going to come with your AEM water meth injection system here, and I'm going to show you what it's comprised of. So you have this piece here, then you have this piece here. I'll put that piece of rubber on in 1 second. Then you have a little screen, you have a spring, and then you have your nozzle, which looks completely different than other nozzles on the market. So what we did is we selected the medium setting one. It's going to be very difficult to show in this video, but if you look at the 3 different tips, you're going to see one is not very aggressive at all, one looks super aggressive, and one is kind of in the middle. So that's basically how they rate them. They don't actually say on them exactly which ones they are or anything. You just have to kind of look at them and see which one looks the most aggressive. So let me reassemble this here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in our charge pipe. Okay, so that's gonna get pressed down like that. And you press that down, that little clip, and that's how it all works. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna take out one of our placeholder bolts here from our FTP. I'm just gonna put a little bit of E6000 on here. As we mentioned before, this is methanol and ethanol resistant, which is nice. But even if you're running something like M1, it's still resistant. Now, we always recommend using boost juice, which is the 50-50 blend. But if your tuner says you want to run M1 for big numbers, this stuff can certainly hold up to it. Now with this kit, the way that it activates is it reads your boost levels, and then it kicks on at a certain point, and then it does a full spray once you get to that boost level. So with the B58 and also B48 and other cars too, there are ways that you can actually get that boost reading without cutting and splicing any lines. And that is with a boost tap. So this is our B58 boost tap. So what we're going to do is you're going to remove this screw right here. Okay, we're going to set that to the side. Then you're going to take your line here, very carefully pull it up, make sure that your O-ring is not damaged. Then you're going to take the supplied O-ring, you're going to put it on the boost tap, and you're going to carefully wiggle that down like that. Make sure that your O-ring is still intact there, and then you're going to take the new supplied screw, which you're going to see is a little bit longer. Just have to switch bits. And as you'll be able to see, we're going to tighten that down, and that is going to give us a nice secure fitting. Now, before I do that, what I want to do is just take the supplied line, and I'm going to put this on here because it is a little bit of a tight fit. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to route my boost line all the way across here. You typically have it come out over here. And we're going to cut the hard line here. And it's going to get inserted into our AEM boost line. All right, we can secure this to make sure it's not going to go anywhere, and that is good to go. What I like to do to make sure that the line doesn't go anywhere, just like to put a little zip tie on the line, give a little extra pressure. Boom. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to very carefully route our boost line. I'm going to get it over here. To give myself plenty. You ruined the shot. We're just going to give ourselves plenty of extra, and as you can see, they give you more than enough with the kit. And what we're going to do, we're going to zip tie it to these wire harnesses that we can see around here. The cool thing is, because it's a black line, it's pretty discreet. Now, if you didn't want it to be discreet, you can also get like red lines and whatnot, but most people like to keep a low profile. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to attach this power line to our constant power, which is right there. Makes it nice and easy, get a nice solid connection. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this on. and we're gonna mount this. It's typically a T50 to remove that. Okay, so now we're going to take your red wire that comes from the controller, not the pump, in this, we're going to tap right here. So this is a T50. So if you go through the brake right here, you'll be able to get it through, and then I'm gonna show you a trick here. If you take it and you feed it up through here, you're still going to be able to close this. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put a loop on this, and then you can remove this, push it down. Take it, put it back, tighten that back, and then that's gonna fit down just like that. Tug my wire up just like that, and that one's done. Okay, then you can get your level sensor plug, and you can secure the brown and the white wires together just like that. And then, it's kind of tricky, but I'm gonna reach down, I'm gonna plug this in. Okay, then the black wire that comes off of your controller, there's a 10 mil right here with the grounding location. Just put another one of those loops on it. You can hook that on there. Okay, then you're going to take your pump wires, and red is going to go to pink, and black is going to go to orange. So at this time, we'll take care of that. All right, then you have the optional solenoid. So what we're going to do is one of these, as you can see, it doesn't really matter which one. One is going to go to the brown and white, and then one we have to pop back through the firewall, and it needs to go to the to that yellow wire where it's going to turn on when the car is in accessory mode or when the car is started. So with that, I'm gonna connect these wires, and then this one over here is not used for what we're doing today. And all the wiring should be pretty set. We're gonna get it hooked up on the dyno. We're going to purge the line, fill the tank, well, fill the tank first and then purge the line. Set that up, and we are almost ready to dyno. Okay, so this is what it looks like up here. We wrapped the wires in some Tesa tape. Last thing we need to do is install our filter to make sure there's no junk or little particles or anything that accidentally end up in there. It's going to end up in the charge pipe. So again, everything has an arrow on it. I'm gonna mount it right here, so I'm just gonna cut the line. There's plenty of places I can zip tie this to. I'm gonna pop that in there. I'll pull this line over there. This is easy to get to as well. All right, now it's time to test the system. So you can see we have a status light. Now, if there is any kind of issue, you're going to get one of these codes. It's either gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and it's going to tell you what's wrong, whether the fluid is low or there's an issue with the system. That is going to tell you, and it's also indicated on the little LED that we installed. You'll notice that there's a test button to test it. What you want to do is just press and hold, and I have the fluid going into a little container right there. Everything is flowing great, so it's time to hook up the line and get on the dyno. All right, so I'm just going to move this out of the way for 1 second. I'll figure out how much we want. I'm going to chop it here. That looks like a good chopping point. Whoa, doesn't taste very good. We're going to get this fully inserted. We are ready to rock. All right, we had to get some cool shots for something down the line, so we figured, hey, let's get some awesome lighting going. So with that, we are going to load up the car. We loaded up on the dyno. We're going to do 3 runs without meth injection. We're gonna see what the horsepower and torque is, and we're gonna average it all together and give you an average number. And then after we do that, we're gonna come back. We're going to turn the meth injection on, and it comes on at 7 PSI, and then it's full blast at 15 PSI, right? Bill verified, we're good. Then we're gonna do the same 3 runs, and we're going to average them together, and we're gonna compare what are the actual results, the gains or losses of adding meth injection without a custom tune. All right, we just got done our first 3 runs. As you saw, it went from 480 horsepower and 510 torque. Then it went to 472 horsepower, 500 torque. Then it went to 467 and then up to 501 torque. So great, very strong numbers to begin with. The average of these is 473 horsepower to the wheels and 503 foot-pound torque. So great numbers. Very curious to see if meth injection without a tune is gonna actually do anything or not.
So just a reminder, guys, the car is tuned with EcuTech. It's the Speed Industry tune. Jeff Payne's the tuner. Just a reminder that it is not tuned for meth. So we want to see if we're getting any gains just by installing meth. Later on down the line, I will get the car custom tuned for the meth injection.
Let's click those fans back on and do 3 more runs with meth injection. Alright, so as you just saw, our numbers were 485 horsepower, 511 torque, 481 horsepower, 509 torque, and then 464 horsepower and 515 torque. So that gives us an average of 476 horsepower to the wheels and also 511 foot-pounds of torque. So that is a horsepower gain of 3 horsepower to the wheels. Again, it's not tuned for it, we just want to see what it would do. And for the torque, it gained us 8 horsepower to the wheels. So again, by adding glorified windshield washer fluid into the engine, I mean, that's pretty good for not tuning or anything. Now, the benefits of this are when you use a water methanol mix like Boost Juice, what it does is the water acts as a cooling agent and then the alcohol helps to bump your octane up. So the big thing with Boost Juice, again without a tune, is it's mainly for cooling and whatnot. So I mean, I'm glad we got gains, to be honest with you. I think that the numbers were very consistent, especially with the torque. The first time around we went from 510 to 500 to 501. The second time we did 511, 509, and then we shot up to 515. And then with the horsepower before, we went from 480 to 472 to 467, and then with meth was 485, 481, and then 464. So very similar. You can kind of see the patterns on how it how it changes each run, but overall, for not having it tuned, not bad at all. Once again, my name is Bryan, and that is Super Officer. Be sure to follow him on Instagram. If you like today's video, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com for all the links to all the products and tools we used in today's video. Be sure to see the links in the description. Once again, my name is Bryan. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.